My friends, let's talk about time. Time's a wasting. Not a moment to lose. My name is Howard Riell. This is Real Truth, but you know that already. Time is wasting. Time has been wasted. What am I referring to? I'm referring to this from the Daily Caller. Some Republicans hinted Monday that they're ready to strike back at Democrats for abusing a Senate procedure to slow down President Trump's nominees. Quote, I'm in favor of it. I was in favor of it when we talked about it earlier. If Democrats continue to be obstructionists like they have been, I think we have to start looking at that option very seriously. That comes from Wyoming Republican Senator John Barrasso to the Daily Caller. Although all presidential appointments now only require a simple majority vote, known as a cloture vote, to move forward from debate, for a final up and down vote, the minority can still demand 30 hours of non-continuous floor debate before the procedure. Previously, all presidential appointments required 60 votes in the chamber to move forward from debate to final vote. But the Democrats had the majority. Then Majority Leader Harry Reid changed the rules, so only a simple majority for cloture was necessary for all appointments, with the exception of Supreme Court picks. So, my friends, what does this mean to you? It's a good question. During Neil Gorsuch's confirmation this year, Republicans changed the cloture rule to include Supreme Court picks to require only a simple majority vote. However, the 30-hour debate rule remained, and Democrats have used it to drag out Trump appointments for long periods of time, to the frustrations of the Republicans. So now the Republicans are talking about doing something about it, and I was just talking about timing. Why now? Why have the Republicans waited until now to do something about it? It became clear months ago that the Democrats were obstructionists, that they would not lift a finger. In fact, they would hold down that parking brake and not let the car go forward. So why didn't the Republicans take this step then? Well, the answer, as we all know, the Republicans didn't want to. Now they're kind of sort of being embarrassed into it. It's the swamp. It's the swamp gumming up the works intentionally, and it's the swamp taking their fat time ungumming up the works. It's the swamp that we've put in a position of power in Washington, that we voted for, leaders that we have selected. It's the swamp. And it needs to be drained. And it needs to be drained post-haste, ipso facto. It's Tuesday. Real Truth. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Howdy, folks. Have you ever thought about having your own backyard chicken? Now you have a source for certified organic, no GMO, no soy chicken feed. HappyHens.biz can even deliver, or you can pick up. Call me, Tim, at 303-829-5948, or go to HappyHens.biz for pricing and ingredients. At HappyHens.biz, we love HappyHens.biz. Or call us at 303-829-5948.
You love it. Do not believe the happy spirit, but test the spirit with the bigger thought, because many false prophets have gone into the world. By this will know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Yeshua, Jesus, has come in the flesh is of God, and every spirit that does not confess Jesus has come in the flesh is not of God. And this is the spirit of the Antichrist, which you have already heard was coming and is now already in the world. 1 John 4:1.
Guys, welcome back. Howard Riell, Real Truth. You know all that already. President Trump gets an A. Congress is getting an F because they just plain suck. They've been talking for 7 years about repealing and replacing Obamacare. When the time comes, their heads are up their asses. Here's Rush Limbaugh talking about repealing Obamacare and what it might mean. Go.
I want to expand on something here that I just saw President Trump say right before the end of the previous hour. He said that his plan now is just let Obamacare fail. He's not going to own it. He's just going to let it fail. Which he's been saying for months. You know, the smart thing politically for him to do, be let it fail. And let the Democrats absorb all the blame. Let Obama and the Democrats take the blame. Just let it fail. But Trump said, to show good faith, he was going to work with people to try to replace it, to repeal and replace it, rather than just to let it implode, let it fail. Now, we know that the Trumpster engages in the art of the deal at all times. And so this statement of his, which was stated, it looked like he was in the cabinet room. Pence was sitting next to us. A lot of people on the media camera shutters were clicking and flicking there. So this got a wide audience. Just going to let it fail. I'm not going to own it. I am not going to sit here and own this. If this is the way it's going to go, I'm just going to let it fail. He could be negotiating. He could be serious. He could mean it that he's just going to sit by and let the thing fail. And that means old Mitch and the boys can go in there and fail to repeal it. And that means Obamacare remains a law of the land. This is where it gets interesting. Obamacare is imploding. It is in the process of consuming itself. If Trump follows through and just says, I'm going to let it fail, and we just sit by and watch premiums go up 45, 50% every year, as we watch insurance companies pull out of the exchanges, as we watch the subsidies end, as we watch the exchanges close, as nobody's able to buy insurance. You see, you have the Trump opposition in the quote-unquote elite club known as the establishment. What are they going to do now? See, the objective in the original design of Obamacare was to fail. But it was supposed to fail with Hillary Clinton or another Democrat in the White House. And at the moment of failure, it was then to be suggested almost as a brilliant spur of the moment idea. Hey, why don't we just go single payer? Or, hey, why don't we just put everybody on Medicare? Hey, problem solved. Because at that time, at that point in time, premiums would be out of reach, deductibles out of reach, insurance companies closing down, closing up shop, exchanges closing up shop. So it would be eagerly demanded even maybe by the public. But now we've got Trump who doesn't want to go single payer. And this, the Democrats and the establishment know. So there are two options here. And it's interesting to note that if you listen to the media and you listen to the Democrats, repealing Obamacare is the worst thing that can be done, but it isn't. Staying with Obamacare and letting it implode is the absolute worst outcome here. Repealing it means you repeal it. You get rid of every Obamacare law, and that means you start over. But it also raises a question: at what point do you, where do you resume? What do we fall back to? If Obamacare is repealed and those laws are gone, there are no exchanges, there are no subsidies, then at what point in the past do we go back to? Well, it's the Wild West, folks. It's the Wild West. If we repeal it, it's the Wild West, and then you're going to see the traditional manner and behavior of Washington kick into gear and start trying to craft something. This is the theory of the optimists at the vote failure yesterday and last night, that this exact scenario would result, and the lack of any formal federal health care law other than what might still be on the books that we revert to will create the need for immediate legislative action. Otherwise, it will be said that the insurance companies will once again be in charge of health care because they're the ones that sell policies, and you can't get coverage if you don't have a policy because it's so expensive you can't pay for it yourself. So that's Trump's ultimate, I don't call it a threat, but that's his negotiating position. Okay, if we can't vote to repeal this thing, I'm standing by and I'm letting it die. I'm letting it implode. I'm going to let it fail, and it's on the Democrats. I'll make sure everybody knows it's on the Democrats. I am not going to own this sucker. It isn't mine. I had nothing to do with it. I've engaged in good faith efforts to fix this, and people aren't interested, so fine. If you're not interested, establishment, you live with the results. And I'm here to tell you the results of Obamacare imploding are far worse than Obamacare being repealed.
One of the things Rush just said is very, very instructive. The members of Congress, they can rush through legislation when they want to. When they don't want to, they can sit around for 7 years talking about it, and then when it's time to actually construct something, they're lost at sea. The swamp is very, very smart. Very, very smart. Item from WTOP.com. Doctors and pharmacies in the nation's capital are now allowed to prescribe life-ending medications to terminally ill patients. The Death with Dignity Act of 2016 became a law with the signature of Mayor Muriel Bowser in December last year. Now the Bowser administration has announced the implementation of the law in the district. The city said the law allows terminally ill D.C. residents over the age of 18 to legally obtain a physician's prescription for medications to end their lives in a humane and peaceful manner. Unquote. My friends, if you want to debate the rightness or wrongness of this measure, give me a call. You know the call-in number. We'll talk about it. It's interesting that it's happening in Washington, D.C. because there are an awful lot of people in D.C. that I wish would take that prescription.
Full of grace and truth. John,
I guess for the commercial. No music telling me that.
This was he of whom I said, he who comes after me is preferred before me, for he was before me. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 14 and 15. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed. This is the America News Network. We thank them for doing a great job. And we realize their job we really call 352-2233. They're not here because they came in uniform people in building.
All right, we're coming back now. Let's keep talking about Obamacare. Let's keep talking about the mess in D.C. Here's my buddy Sean Hannity from last night talking to Newt Gingrich. Go.
Is now author of the #1 New York Times bestseller, several weeks in a row on the list, Understanding Trump, former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich. So we've been trying to get an answer from this Chalupa lady. The article was written back in January. You have quotes from her in there. Doesn't deny it until tonight to CNN. I want her, Wasserman Schultz, Podesta, Mook, and Hillary under oath.
Well, and even in the story tonight, there are other people who are saying that she had told them that she thought she could get material that would hurt Trump. So even her denial, I think, may in fact not hold up when people look into it in more detail. But it's interesting, you know, there's this huge shock in the elite media that this Russian lawyer came to Trump Tower, etc. Well, there's not shock that this DNC operative went to the Ukrainian embassy. Oh no, that's not really a problem because of this and that and the next thing. The double standard is so gigantic that it is, I think, to the average American very obvious that it is a double standard. And again, notice the difference. We don't have any evidence that anything was done to collude. This is the key word. Where's the collusion? Where's the Russians working directly with Trump? There's no evidence of it. Furthermore, as several liberal lawyers have said, Harvard professors of law, under the First Amendment, you are allowed, with your free speech rights, to try to learn whether or not your opponent has a weakness, as long as you're not stealing anything. You know, and he's saying, and both of them are saying, to try to turn this into a criminal case would be a direct assault on the First Amendment right of free speech in a campaign. And I think that the degree to which the elite media has tried to puff this up is just almost unbelievable.
So you have the Ukraine issue where a real meeting took place with a real DNC worker, operative, whatever position she wants to say that she had, saying in the Politico that, in fact, information was passed on that had an impact in the election. We have the corrupt Uranium One deal. I won't give the details. Everyone in this audience knows them. And then you have this phony dossier citing Russians, Fusion GPS, Democrats all hooked into them and paying money to this guy. Comey even wanted to pay this guy $50,000, and it was citing Russian sources with bad information. Why aren't the Republicans putting as much emphasis on this and saying, okay, if you're against outside countries influencing our elections, then we've got to investigate these issues?
Well, they should be. As I said before in talking with you, I do think there's a very real grounds for the Congress to look at the totality of foreign influence peddling, foreign campaign influence, not just Russia, not just Ukraine, but as we have become the most powerful nation in the world, there are a lot of people around the planet who give grants to universities to shape what they're doing, who give grants to individuals, who hire lobbyists. You can use this New York Times, Washington Post hysterical language to describe anything. But the one that I think is the most intriguing, now that you put your finger on it, I cannot understand why the Congress has not dug into it, is the scale of secrecy involved in the uranium deal. The fact that apparently there's this Canadian foundation which has to disclose what it does with its money or where its money comes from. As you pointed out, it gave millions and millions to the Clinton Foundation at a time when the Secretary could have stopped it. I mean, the fact that that hasn't been investigated strikes me as just almost unbelievable.
It's breathtaking. It's as bad or worse than especially Russia being our enemy, as the Democrats keep telling us. You were kind enough to point something out to me today in a private conversation we had about two reporters writing a book called Shattered, meaning that they expected Hillary to win, shatter the glass ceiling. Didn't exactly work out the way they wanted, but there's an interesting Russia side note to this. I'll let you explain.
Well, there really is, and it's a fascinating book. Anybody who's interested in politics, these two reporters had gotten, obviously in advance, to write a book about the election of Hillary Clinton. Suddenly, election night, like everybody else, they're faced with having to write a different book. So instead of having shattered the glass ceiling, it became how Hillary Clinton shattered her own campaign. And towards the end of the book, there's a whole section. I'm thinking about writing one of my newsletters on this. There's a whole section where Hillary, the day after the election, suddenly figures out, since it can't be her fault, it must have been Cohen's press events and the Russians.
The Russians' fault. Russia made me do it.
And then she began talking about it had to be the Russians. Okay.
More with Luke King. We're trying to break. When we come back, I have my own list for the Republican Party. If they want to be successful in 2018, 4 to 5 things they need to do. We'll ask Stu what he thinks. Anti-Trump protests taking place.
Wait till you see what's up for you.
In place for the rest of the wall to be built. Second, Obamacare. I understand Senator McCain's sick. When he gets back, it needs to be repealed, replaced immediately. Third, there needs to be an energy revolution, as Secretary Rick Perry said today, so we create millions of high-paying career jobs in this country. And fourth, we better get that middle class, that corporate tax cut, that multinational corporation repatriation for these companies to invest in America and build factories and manufacturing centers. They don't get that done, they won't deserve re-election, in my opinion. We continue. Former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor, author of the best-selling book, Understanding Trump. Mr. Speaker, those are add Neil Gorsuch, and you got 5. The president handled the originalist. I would argue if those 4 things are not done, that there is a very strong possibility 2018 could be a shock election for the country. Not good for the Republicans.
I think that's right. I think that the left clearly is going to turn out. The left hates Trump. They'll do anything they can to beat him. And the question is, 1, can we have enough energy and drive among our base that they turn out? And 2, can we perform well enough that independents decide that they want to reelect us? And I think this comes down, in a sense, to your list, but also to a deeper sense of, do we represent prosperity, economic growth, higher take-home pay, more jobs, or not? Trump, you just said him, the president, a minute ago, talking about what he wants to do to make America great again. I think that he's in the right general direction. I personally believe they ought to do as much as they can on health care right now, but they shouldn't spend the whole rest of this year on one issue. They've also got to pass, I think, by Thanksgiving, and get signed into law by Thanksgiving, a very large tax cut, retroactively designed back to January 1, to make sure that we have enough economic growth in 2018 that Republicans can run as the party of prosperity, of jobs, of higher take-home pay, and of economic growth. And I would say the highest focus ought to be on getting the tax bill through, because if we don't have economic growth next year, I think we're in real danger of having Speaker Nancy Pelosi in 2019. If we do get enough economic growth, I think, frankly, we'll probably get reelected.
And I think that's where the millions of energy jobs come into play. I think that's where, you're right. I love the tax cuts being retroactive. That'll flood the economy with money and investment opportunities, factories, manufacturing centers, and things we talk about. But I'll take a first step on healthcare. I'll take health savings accounts opportunities, getting rid of the taxes associated with it. I'll take the opportunity for cooperatives and then getting it better, or just repeal it. If that's all they can do for now, do it. How important? Why are you? Look, we've been friends for 25 years. I was there emceeing the night you became the Speaker of the House. That's how far we go back, even further. My first interview, I think it was in 1990 with you. And here's my question: you have been urging me to be patient.
You were a mere child.
Because you have been urging me to be patient. I'm run out of patience with these Republicans. They asked for this opportunity.
I agree. I agree. I surrender. We've had 6 months of patience. It's time to perform. And I agree with you. I think that they have to go to. First of all, you've had 6 months to look at what happened, what worked, what didn't. It's like a football team at halftime. It's like a military operation in the middle of. You got to take steps. You have to learn lessons. I think they've got to figure out how to do things faster, more simply. I like what you just said, frankly, about healthcare. If you can't pass the gigantic bill, tell me what you can pass. But get something done that starts to move us away from Obamacare. And I think on each of these things, whether it's infrastructure or it's controlling spending or it's reforming the bureaucracy, and by the way, the Veterans Administration is a great success story. I think it ranks second only to conservative judges in terms of how the president is starting to really move the country. Deregulation, big success, moving in the right direction. I met last Thursday with Secretary Zinke of Interior. He has got a great plan, moving in the right direction. Former commander of SEAL Team 6, bringing that kind of tough military approach to it. I see things moving in the right direction, but the Congress has got to pick doable things that they can actually get done and not just beat their head against the wall without getting anything done. So I'm on you.
Well, the problem is this, my friends, if I can jump in. Congress, members of Congress are living the life of Riell. They're privileged individuals, big salaries, big money coming in from lobbyists and special interests. Their medical is far better than the average Americans. They're covered. People kiss their butts. They got all the perks. They travel around the world on a taxpayer dime. They're living the life of Riell without accomplishing anything. Just talking. So when it comes time to roll up the sleeves and actually do something, they're completely ill-prepared. And it's a disgrace, and it's a national disgrace. Let's go back to Newt Gingrich.
Out of time. Okay, it just took you a little longer because you are a more patient person. I'll cede that point back to you. But I will say this. I hope they just heard what you said. They don't get it done. They put their own power in jeopardy. You know, keeping your promises is good politics. Mr. Speaker, good to see you. Thank you.
Well, keeping your promises is good politics, but only if we hold politicians' feet to the fire. If they don't keep their promises, and we keep re-electing them, keep voting for incumbents, then why the hell should they keep their promises? Item from the Chicago Tribune. In a city scarred by a deep and troubling history with guns, a supervisor in the scandal-plagued water department used his city email account to negotiate firearms deals and make light of deadly 4th of July violence in black neighborhoods by offering, quote, I just got cut off.
We're sorry, your call.
I just got cut off. In the middle of a diatribe. Can't get back on. See what it's like being a media superstar, right? I think.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Okay, I can barely hear you.
All right, I'm still here. You having problems with your phone? I think we're past the technical problems. I trust that you guys can hear me. Anyway, as I was saying, from the Chicago Tribune, in a city scarred by a deep and troubling history with guns, a supervisor in the scandal-plagued water department used his city email account to negotiate firearms deals and make light of deadly 4th of July violence in black neighborhoods by offering, quote, Chicago Safari tours. A new watchdog report revealed. The latest development in the ongoing investigation, which the Tribune first disclosed in May, emerged as Inspector General Joseph Ferguson detailed how ousted District Water Superintendent Paul Hansen emailed with individuals over personal purchases or sales of at least 4 firearms and 5 cars. Unquote. My friends, it's not only that Chicago from start to finish is a mess. It's that it's a Democrat-controlled mess. We'll take a break and we'll be back with more Real Truth.
It's focused that your 24-hour block super not be able to not only able to not the righteous, but the fortress that united on course. But the bills that are freedom every day. And the military care package to take to them and the there in our heart. And our brothers and our fathers. But not for the Sunday subject, that your 24-hour raw most of the time, I rejoice myself not to it. They're on the air to cut both ways. You look at the blocker plan and remind ourselves that the drug problem is well documented. We know our kids will be approached at their feet. We want to applaud the youngsters in our community who have trust that no drug. They provide examples to their peers and families to be the best they can be. That's promoted to the blocker plan located at 366 Street in November. Serving our area 1943 and specializing in naturalized beef, and pork, and complete custom process. Call 303-688-2240. That's 368-2240. Ample House Taxidermy and Brighton would like to take this time to say thank you to all the brave men and women in the armed forces who have served our country. Business owners, consider hiring veterans our most dependable beast. And to those heroes back on the mission with us, know that their dedication, selflessness, and courage are appreciated. May God bless America. This message is from Animal House Taxidermy and Brighton, proud to salute the fighting forces of our country.
All right, my friends, we are back. Real Truth rolls on. I am Howard Riell. Now, you know, a couple of weeks ago, the NRA's Dana Lash released an ad calling people to join and support the NRA. Some people on the left, at least, thought it was controversial. Here are Steve Green, Steve Ott, and Bill Whittle talking about the ad, what it means, what it doesn't mean. Here we go.
Dana Lash, speaking for the National Rifle Association, says, kill them all and don't even let God sort them out. Or did she? I'm Steve Green for Right Angle on BillWhittle.com. With me, of course, Bill Whittle and Scotta. And let's roll right now Dana Lash's controversial new recruiting ad for the NRA.
They use their media to assassinate real news. They use their schools to teach children that their president is another Hitler. They use their movie stars and singers and comedy shows and award shows to repeat their narrative over and over again. And then they use their ex-president to endorse the resistance, all to make them march, make them protest, make them scream racism and sexism and xenophobia and homophobia, to smash windows, burn cars, shut down interstates and airports, bully and terrorize the law-abiding, until the only option left is for the police to do their jobs and stop the madness. And when that happens, they'll use it as an excuse for their outrage. The only way we stop this, the only way we save our country and our freedom, is to fight this violence of lies with the clenched fist of truth. I'm the National Rifle Association of America, and I'm freedom's safest place.
Well, I mean, I have to admit that's some pretty strong language. I took a list of some of the triggering words she used. Wait, is trigger a triggering word when it's used by the NRA? Anyway, we've got it's they are doing this to us, and it's assassinate, Hitler, smash, burn, shut down, outrage, fight, violence, lies, clenched fist. This is really strong language. But, and this is what gets me, the reaction to it on the left. I'll give you just a couple of examples. Scott Boyette, writing for Boing Boing, the fanzine from the 80s that's still around on the internet now, says, the NRA ad says Americans need guns to shoot the resistance. And he says, now they're literally telling members to arm themselves against the resistance to an authoritarian regime. Bill?
That is precisely what we're saying.
Yeah. But it's
What
not
is the problem
precisely what Dana said. It's not what she said.
What is the problem here? The guy from Boing Boing says we are telling people to arm themselves to resistance against an authoritarian regime. Correct.
Except,
yes. Any other questions for you there, Boing Boing?
Well, let me give you a follow-up, Bill. Which
Sure.
authoritarian regime is he referring to, and which authoritarian regime are you referring to?
This is the point. It doesn't matter which authoritarian regime we're referring to. We're referring to an authoritarian regime. One of the things we said during the Obama years was that these guys are governing as if they're never going to lose again, and they're certainly having a temper tantrum as if they believe that for the last 8 years too. So whenever I know because now that I'm a paid shrill for the gun death lobby, when I was doing Cullen Sigmund on Grant's show, and there was right after Trump was elected, there were reports that liberals were going out to buy guns. And if Boing Boing is correct, then that should be a problem for us. We don't want the other team to arm up. Our position from the beginning was, welcome to the club. Yes. Congratulations. You finally figured it out. Yes. If you have the weapon, you won't have to use it. As long as there's 300 million handguns out there, we don't have to worry about any of this stuff. And I would remind Boing Boing the one thing that they never, ever, ever mention, and none of them ever mention. They don't mention it because they not only don't understand it, they can't understand it. If there was all of the stuff that they're talking about, if there were concentration camps, if there were people being taken away by night, with guys with guns, the people who would be resisting them the most are the members of the National Rifle Association and all the other armed conservatives in the country, while the liberals would be sitting there writing strongly worded letters. So they don't understand this at all, and they don't understand that this is a defensive maneuver. I would remind Boing Boing that the people who are being beaten over the head with bicycle locks and the people who are smashing are conservatives. The people smashing windows and the people who are getting beaten up for going to listen to people speak on universities are conservatives being beaten, liberals doing the smashing, liberals doing all of the burning, the rioting, all of it. So if it turns out finally that Dana Loesch has said she's had enough of your aggression, your violence, your lawlessness, and your intimidation, and we're not going to take it anymore, then that's something you probably should understand is driven by you and your behaviors, not by us and ours. And you can project on this all you want to, but the point of fact is, yes, we are here to protect ourselves against the kind of lawlessness that you represent, and on top of that, we're here to protect ourselves against the kind of collectivist government that you love so much and has worked so well and killed 200 million people throughout the history of the world. And I think that's a conservative estimate, if you'll pardon the expression.
No, I think we earned that word. Hey, Scott, over at HuffPo, they're saying, whether or not you agree with the message, the ad can be controversial, or at least seem that way, because of the language that Dana uses. But over at HuffPo, they did a story headline, "The NRA recruitment video is so divisive, even gun owners are angry." Scott, you're a gun owner. Are you angry at Dana or the NRA?
Well, I think we've long known that Dana Loesch was a student of the Reader's Digest section toward more picturesque speech. She has a gift for that. But the only thing that is more disconcerting to the left than actual living by the Second Amendment is a woman who lives by the First Amendment. And the idea that Dana Loesch, as a woman who happens to be conservative, which just flies in the face of the left's understanding of women, can stand up and basically express her opinion about a natural right that was enshrined in our Constitution by a group of people who knew what it looked like to be at the wrong end of the musket. They knew the dangers of what at that time was the C word. and I mean consolidated. Consolidated national government was the great fear of the framers of the Constitution, and that's why they set up a federal republican system of government. That's why the first set of amendments pushed through. The only way, frankly, that the Constitution was ratified was by the promise that a set of basic human rights would be expounded in the first set of amendments. The only way that we actually have that Constitution is because there were some holdouts in some of those states that said, okay, if you guarantee our natural right to defend ourselves against predatory oppressive government, then we'll vote for ratification.
Well, my friends, we still have predatory oppressive government, only now they're aided and abetted by the media. Item from Breitbart. There's no justification for importing more low-skilled foreign laborers, a new study shows, despite efforts by the Republican establishment to do just that. Every year, 66,000 foreign guest workers are brought to the U.S. on the H-2B to take seasonal jobs in blue-collar industries. Due to pressure from the big business lobby and the Republican establishment, Department of Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly has increased the cap by another 15,000 foreign guest workers. A study by the Economic Policy Institute, one of the few organizations that compiles data on the H-2B visa and its impact on American wages and unemployment, found that there were 136,000 H-2B foreign workers in the U.S. in fiscal year 2016, noting that an increase is not necessary, unquote. My friends, I'll go a step further than that. An increase is poison. We don't need more low education, low skilled employees in the United States. We need fewer. We need more jobs for American citizens. That's just common sense. We'll be right back with more Real Truth.
And of his fullness we have all received, and grace for grace. For the law was given through Moses, but grace and truth came through Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. No one seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, who is in the bosom of the Father, he has declared him. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 16.
Hello?
If catastrophe struck, would your family be prepared? Are you confident you wouldn't react in a panic? Is there one place to get all of your emergency supplies? Ferris Survival encourages you to have confidence through preparation, not panic through crisis. Ferris Survival, located at 3366 South Broadway, is a professional, reputable, full-service business providing quality, realistic preparedness supplies at an affordable price. Go online, stop by, or call 303-781-0343. Ferris Survival. American Window Tinting Incorporated in Wrighttown reminds parents, keep an eye on your child while shopping. Children tend to stray or become lost. This poses an opportunity for a would-be abductor. Please make every effort to keep track of your little one at all times. If you have information regarding a lost child, call local authorities at once. This message is from American Window Tinting Incorporated in Frankfurt. For residential or commercial window tinting, call 303-263-4228.
Guys, welcome back to Real Truth. Let's circle back to the beginning of the show about the swamp existing on the left and, unfortunately, on the right. Both sides of the swamp working together to paralyze Donald Trump and his administration because they represent us, while the swamp represents the swamp. Let's go back to Rush Limbaugh.
How do I know this? Because I play golf. I am fully familiar with the psychology of elite membership clubs. And I'm telling you, I understand exactly what's going on in the establishment here in Washington, D.C. Folks, and you don't have to be an expert in it. This is just common sense. Understand something. Washington, D.C., wealthiest town in the world. More money collected there, spent there, allocated there. More money than anywhere in the world. And it makes it the most powerful city in the world. The people that live there, the people that make their careers there, have as their objective to get their hands on as much of that money, your tax dollars, and whatever the government earns selling arms and weapons and so forth and whatever else. The objective is to get as much of that money as they can for themselves and their clients. It's not to defend and protect the Constitution. It's not Civics 101. It's not about separation of powers. It's about the pursuit of money. Natural, human, emotional, behavior, tendencies. Membership in this club is very, very, very small, and it's very, very controlled. They're not going to permit just anybody that wants to get in that club and join the pursuit of that money or determine how it's spent or determine how it's allocated. And that's exactly who Donald Trump is. Donald Trump would never be admitted to this group. Donald Trump, if you applied for membership in the quote-unquote establishment, Trump would never be admitted if there were such things as admissions and applications. And yet, he's found himself in the most powerful position in it. This has been met with tremendous resentment, anger, fear, loathing, hatred, particularly when what Trump said on the campaign trail was a clear signal that his intention was to drain the place. Well, the people that have enjoyed exclusive membership in this elite club known as the establishment, they're just not going to sit there and let some outsider come in and blow it all up. And that's what you've seen for the past 7 or 8 months. You have seen whether it's Obama intelligence people embedded in the deep state, whether it's Obama administration officials unmasking Trump people, whether it's the media, whoever and everybody that has been involved in the undermining and the sabotaging of Donald Trump has been doing so on the basis of protecting the elite membership of the establishment in Washington, D.C. Membership includes media, membership includes elected officials, but not all of them. Not every elected official is a member of the establishment. Some of them are conservatives and they're not permitted. They live there and they work there, but they're not in the establishment. Everybody in the media is, for the most part, a few exceptions there too. Think tankery, you name it. The whole town is built around the existence of this establishment. Harvard and Yale are feeder colleges to educate future members of this establishment. Law schools, journalism schools, ditto. The idea of an outsider, particularly one that the elite consider a pig, coming in here and winning and overturning, there is just no way, folks. They're not going to permit it. Republicans, Democrats, whatever. So while they put on a show of the argument being Republican versus Democrat, the president versus Democrats, that's not what's going on. This is the elite membership of the establishment unifying to get rid of Donald Trump and make sure that nothing of his announced agenda happens. No wall, no tax reform, no immigration reform of substance, and certainly no repealing of Obamacare. Not all members of the establishment are equally powerful. There are those who run it. You don't know who they are. They don't seek office. They're not office holders. They are the chess players, the puppeteers. These are the people who assign roles. These are the people who determine how much money from the pile goes where, how much they get, and they then have the power, because of their ability to disperse the money, who gets it, and therefore who remains loyal to the real power in the elite club known as the establishment.
My friends, this is Conspiracy 101. What Rush Limbaugh just said, by the way, Rush Limbaugh, who gets paid about $25 to $30 million a year to say this, saying exactly and precisely what I've been saying on this show for 8 years and 11 months. He's saying exactly what I've been saying for years. Now, I know, with all due respect to Rush, I don't remember him saying these things 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. He's come around to that. But you and I have known it for a long time. The true puppet masters in Washington, D.C. are people we wouldn't recognize, and we wouldn't recognize their names. But they call the shots, and they hate Trump because Trump is us. He's you and me. They hate him. They hate us. That's why we need to close ranks around Donald Trump, support him in every way we can, because he's fighting for us against those dark conspiratorial bastards who've rigged the game for decades and decades and decades. This is, in a very real sense, another American revolution. Not against the King of England, but against the elites in the Beltway. Nothing less than our lives and the life of the United States of America is at stake here, my friends. This is very, very real and ultimately serious. Now, we're coming up on a break, and when we do, we're going to come back with some more news, and I'm going to wrap it up for the day, but I'll post this on my Facebook page, Real Truth Radio. Listen to what Limbaugh has to say. He doesn't know it, but he's quoting yours truly. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll have more news, as I said, and then we will ring down the curtain on another successful foray into truth. Stick around.
Do not believe the Epping spirit, but test the spirit, what the bear saw, because many false prophets have gone into the world. By this you will know the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesses that Yeshua, Jesus, has come in the flesh is of God, and every spirit that does not confess that Yeshua, Jesus, has come in the flesh is not of God. And this is the spirit of Antichrist, which you have already heard was coming and is now already in the world. 1 John 4:1.
No state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque or reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debt, pass any bill of attainder, ex post facto law, or law impairing the obligation of contracts, or grant any title of nobility. Article 1, Section 10.
Thank them for doing a great job. Good job. And respect. Realize the job is done. Here because they care. And uniform people in group. Nicholas restaurant report missing on it. Over 58,000 things were accepted by non-family members. Keep an eye out for the unrestricted flag. If you see anything suspicious, contact the authorities immediately. This message from Nicholas Restaurant Center is not only that this happened in Mississippi, it's the people who care. Give them a call to 303-757-5166. 303-757-5166.
Hey, how about that England? They got some nerve. Item from Breitbart: Dunkirk is a great movie, but there aren't enough women or people of color in it, according to a review in USA Today. The movie, with a cast including Mark Rylance, Kenneth Branagh, and former One Direction singer Harry Styles, has been given a slew of 5-star reviews for its vivid, nail-biting depiction of the evacuation of the British Expeditionary Force from Dunkirk in 1940, but though USA Today's reviewer praised it too, he couldn't resist giving a little rap on the knuckles about its shameful lack of diversity and equality. The trio of timelines can be jarring if you figure out how they all fit, and the fact that there are only a couple of women and no lead actors of color may rub some the wrong way. Unquote. My friends, how about those Brits? They got some nerve not having more black, brown, and transgender people in their army in 1940. How dare they? Item from Breitbart. England's first state-funded Muslim secondary school that segregated boys and girls and had books promoting domestic violence and marital rape is to be taken over by the government. The Al-Hijra School in Birmingham, which became state-funded in 2001, was put into special measures last summer after the pro-rape texts were found in the institution's library and the child died from an allergic reaction. What's that, my friends? Yes, I'll repeat that. The pro-rape texts. You heard me right. It's Islam. Item. While U.S. President Donald Trump was on a visit to France for the National Bastille Day celebrations in Paris, clashes in the capital's migrant-dominated suburbs saw 13 security force members wounded and 897 cars burned. The Interior Ministry said 368 people were placed in custody for riots and violence on the nights of the 13th and 14th of July, scenes which have become a regular occurrence in multicultural urban neighborhoods of Paris at the start of Bastille Day celebrations each year. Unquote. My friends, if you didn't get a look at the video of streets burning, attacks on police during Bastille Day in France, don't worry about it. It's coming here. You'll see it out your living room window. Item from InfoWars. Mohammed Hussein Rashwani was hailed in the media as the paramount example of successful integration after he got a job as a hairdresser at a salon in Würzburg, Germany in late 2015. After a little over a year on the job, he decided to slit his female employer's throat. Unquote. Item from InfoWars. Migrants in Germany poured into a carnival and started raping young women and attacking police. The so-called asylum seekers invaded the Volksfest in Baden-Württemberg over the weekend, committing 3 sexual assaults on Friday alone and more throughout the festivities. One of the victims was a 17-year-old girl held down by 3 Afghan migrants, according to police. Unquote. And so, my friends, maybe you can look forward to your teenage daughters being held down by migrants from Afghanistan and raped. I'm sorry, what'd you say? You don't want your daughter raped by Afghan migrants? Okay, fair enough. Then you'd better get your ass in gear and do something to stop it. Because without said asses being in gear, without action, it's coming. It's coming to America. If you don't like it, then do something about it. Stop it. Get busy. Get active. Stay angry. So I say every single day, my friends, nothing changes. I'll be back in 23 hours. That'll change. With more real truth. Until then, hasta luego. Be well.